Alright, what's up everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Darium's Competitive Pokemon. We are in the car on the way to Hartford, Connecticut Regional Championships. I'm not going to look at the camera anymore because I'm driving, trying to be a safe driver here. However, we are going to do a card of the day in the car, and we're calling it Car of the Day. And we're talking about the new card just revealed here, Xurkitree GX. Super stoked about this card. It looks amazing. I mean, I love lightning type Pokemon. I mean, lightning type Pokemon are like my favorite. Obviously, I was like into the Pikachu deck, you know, tried to make Magnezone work for a long time. This Xurkitree could be the champion that lightning Pokemon needed. My buddy Will in the backseat is gonna hook you guys up with the translations. So, gonna pitch it back to Will.
Alright, Xurkitree GX. Its ability is Flash Head. It prevents all damage done to it by Pokemon with special energy on them. Its first attack costs 2 lightning in a colorless, called Rumble Laser. It's 100 damage and it mills 1 off the top of their deck. And its GX attack is your opponent reveals their hand, and you choose any card from it and put it face down as a price card. And it costs 1 lightning.
I think this card is really good. It's just going to increase, I mean, imagine you get to look at your opponent's hand and you get to put one of their cards there as their prize for 1 lightning energy. That can happen as early as the first turn of the game. I mean, we used to talk about forcing your opponent into 7 prize situations, forcing them to take 7 prizes to win the game. This card is going to make it so that some people are going to have to take 8 prizes to win the game, which is totally insane. I'm going to throw it back to the back seat and see what they have to say about the card too.
No, I like it a lot. I have no idea what to pair it with is the problem I think everybody's going to have initially. I mean, there's not like a lot that you can pair it with. People are thinking about like maybe like Raikou, or I've thought about pairing it with like Tapu Koko GX. But honestly, I don't think it's going to find its partner initially, like a lot of these newer cards when they first come out do. So I think it's going to take a while for it to kind of settle into the meta after like Sun and Moon 4 even comes out.
Alright, I think the card is going to be really good. I mean, like my friends have been saying, you know, it'd be good with Aether Paradise, it'd be good with Raikou, it'd be good with even like, my friend even thought of like Raticate. You can discard their basic energy, and they can't attack you since it doesn't take any damage from Pokemon with special energy. Like it could be even like a 1-of tech in some decks that play Rainbow too. I mean, like it's
that GX attack's like super busted for like the 1 lightning, and I think like Andrew was saying earlier on the first turn that's so good. Just because like when I think I open up a hand of like 6 or 7 cards, like the odds that I have more than like 1 draw supporter are probably pretty low. Like, if you, a lot of the time, can draw kind of like a dead hand every couple of games, imagine what would happen if your opponent had the ability to just discard, like, whatever you need for the next turn, especially, like, on your opening turn, really.
I think what's going to make, like, the biggest difference here is whether we play it in an attacking-based deck or, like, a mill-end or discard deck. So, if you're going to be pairing it with something like you said, Raticate, or you can be pairing it with, like, attackers like Raikou from the new set, or, you know, Raichu GX, stuff like that. So are we attacking with this card, or are we using it more of like a milling type tool?
I think that, I mean, this card, you could attack with it, 100 damage, right? It does 100 damage?
Yep. Yeah, it does 100.
Okay, 100 damage for 3 energy. This thing, it reminds me a lot of Aegislash EX with that ability, just being able to block attackers with special energy attached to them. There are so many decks in format that play special energy. I mean, we've got Gardevoir GX, really relies on double colorless a whole lot, and being able to wall with this against a Gardevoir GX deck is just very good. It could go in anything from a Decidueye deck. Decidueye decks, you know, are you know, really good at just walling. You want to wall off with something while you just snipe your opponent's Pokemon with Feather Arrow, so it could go as a 1-of in a Decidueye deck, and since, you know, you could even play Rainbows in Decidueye decks, since, you know, there is kind of a history of that, of people playing Toolbox Decidueye decks, it could go in a Toolbox Decidueye deck so that you could even have access to its GX attack as well, which could be really good. It also could go good in lightning type decks. I mean, I think Raichu GX is an archetype that does have some promise coming out here, out of Shining Legends. Raichu GX has that attack that is just like Dark Pulse, Darkrai, but on a stage 1 lightning type Pokemon. So if this Raichu GX deck does become feasible, then Xurkitree is going to find its way in there. Any deck that plays lightning energy is going to play one of these cards no matter what. And I think like maybe you don't try to necessarily just wall your opponent off from attacking altogether with the card, but you use it as kind of an alternative win condition and just something to like make your opponent's plays more awkward. Obviously, if there was a deck in format that just relied solely on its 4 double colorless, if there was like a Night March deck in format or something like that, that only attacked with 4 double colors or only attacked with special energy, then obviously it would be very good against like a deck like that, and you would go in and you would use its attack for 100 pretty often. But I think just having it as there, you know, as something to wall off against these decks and for that GX attack in these lightning type archetypes, which do have promise. I mean, we're talking Magnezone, I think, is not dead yet. I know you guys, listen guys, Magnezone Raichu, it's possible, all right? I think it's possible. You know, as funny as they might think that is, but anyways, I think it has some potential, and I think it could fit in there. What do you guys think about Magnezone Raichu? You think that's a possibility? Like, is it?
Well, this isn't so much like Magnezone Raichu, but I liked what you were saying earlier about just having it as like a one-of wall in like these Raichu decks. So, I mean, what some people have been talking about with the release of both Raichu GX and that Raikou in Shining Legends is that kind of you can emulate how like the old Turbo Dark was last season when it first came out, where you kind of would just sit there and hit for 30 and then get lightning from your discard and do like big one-shot hits with that Darkrai.
Max Elixir.
Yeah, but now you also have a Pokemon, if you don't need to discard anything from, or don't need to charge from your discard, you can just sit there and not get hit by Pokemon with special energy. And I think people are gonna start trying to recreate that with when Shining Legends comes out, and when we get the Xurkitree, I think we can have that like one-of tech in there that it might help out a lot and make it like a viable, you know, high tier 2 or low tier 1 deck.
I think maybe like the Raikou, maybe that Raikou is better than the Magnezone. I mean, thinking about setting up a whole stage 2 and a stage 1 in a consistent deck, you know, with appropriate draw, that might not be the best thing ever. Okay, so maybe it is just better to rely on the Raikou, which is a basic Pokemon. I think that sounds great, and then you're definitely going to have room for cards like Xurkitree in an archetype like that. You can use Max Elixirs, you can use the Experience Share too. People using those kinds of decks, so maybe that is a possibility.
I like it more as a one-of tech in most decks than an actual like with the Magnezone you're saying, Andrew. You know, like the Raichu seems really good with it. You know, just more of a one-of card. Like it's not that good of an attacker. It's more good of a wall and like kind of a, you know, just being a really annoying card.
We haven't like addressed the milling part of the deck either. Like I think that's a factor. We talked about like the ability to resist special energy and the GX attack, but there's also a possibility that people could kind of like pair it in with like the milling factor. I know, Audubon, were you talking about that earlier?
Yeah, I mean, I think like you know, obviously it takes a card out of your opponent's hand for its GX attack and makes that a prize card, which also makes the deck like way harder to beat if you're playing against someone. So I think the factoring with like hammers and stuff, you know, cards that Frank really loves, you can be able to like stop your opponent from like taking the win rather than, it's like a Wailord kind of strategy.
Yeah. So would you play like more than one then to like mill with it, or is it just kind of like that it'll sit there when you need it, like to, you know, dodge special energy attackers, and then also if you need it later in the game you can kind of mill them out? Or is it something you think of as almost a tool where you can include like maybe 2?
Yeah, probably 2 I think is, if you're playing it in a milling based deck at least.
Oh yeah, like the whole milling based deck,
right, right,
everything.
Yeah.
I think 1 or 2 is gonna be the play. I don't think anything more than 2 is gonna be good.
I have to agree with Will here. I think like milling 1 card just seems so kind of lackluster. It's a nice bonus. I see it as like, to me, Xurkitree is just a card that has a really sweet ability and a very amazing GX attack, and then it does 3 for 100. And that's just, and as icing on the cake, it also mills a card. And that to me is just icing. Like, you don't even need that to make the card good. It honestly could just do 3 for 100, and this card would still be amazing. And I still think we'd probably still be talking about it. But, you know, the milling, I expect like maybe every once in a while you'll get a clutch card off the mill. But I think there are better milling cards out there. You do still have Houndoom, right? Is Houndoom still legal?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Houndoom is like great.
Alright, so we still have Houndoom, which just mills 2 cards. I think that Houndoom is just a better miller since it only takes 1 energy to mill with, and as opposed to Xurkitree's 3. Houndoom EX has got that attack, that Melting Horn, is that what it is?
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, Melting Horn, something like that, which mills 2 cards for just the 1 energy. Obviously it does evolve into Mega Houndoom, which is stage 1, but yeah. So I don't really see the milling being that big of a factor. I think you're better off with other mill decks. And I think like decks that don't play special energy will just be able to one-shot this thing pretty easily. You know, like like your Volcanion decks are obviously going to eat this thing apart, and your Metagross decks, even though you resist them, if they play anything like Solgaleo or Necrozma, they will also find a way to one-shot this thing as well. I'm not exactly sold on the milling capabilities of this card. Thank you all for joining us for this Card of the Day, Car of the Day series here on our way to Connecticut. Going to be vlogging this trip, so I'll let you guys know how the tournament shakes out for us. Pretty excited to be on our way. We still got like 7 hours or something like that, ridiculous. It's getting dark out, so obviously you see the camera work here. You know, things are starting to get pretty dark. But anyways, thank you all for checking out the video. Let me know what you all think of Xurkitree GX in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Peace.